Look at the size of this grow bag potato. That is outstanding.
Guten Yardening, everybody. We are down to our last potato harvest of the indoor growing season, though of course we have far more coming in the outdoor growing season. Lots of great new varieties for us and lots of harvest to come there. But this is the last of what we planted indoors. And I want to take a moment before I harvest these 2 grow bags to reflect on what we were able to do this indoor grow season with our potatoes. This season was our first attempt to grow potatoes indoors, and our first grow bag netted us about 1.5 pounds of tubers. They weren't the biggest, but they were a great start to our indoor growing. After that, we harvested from our raised bed, and while we got fewer potatoes per plant, the tubers were actually bigger. Now, we didn't just stop with traditional ways of growing potatoes. Instead, we also experimented around to see if, because these were in the same family as tomatoes, if we could pull some of the suckers off of these potato plants and grow potatoes directly from those suckers. That experiment took on a couple of different forms, and we did get some early results with those where we were able to produce some potatoes. Of course, now that all these greens have died back completely, we don't have access to suckers yet, but now that we're growing outdoors, we'll soon have access to plenty of them, so we can continue the experiment, we can continue to modify the experiment. We like those early results, and we really want to see if we can grow potatoes faster, so stay tuned for more of those. And now we get to our last 2 grow bags that we're ready to harvest, and I have to say, these were actually planted at around the same time as our first grow bag, which we harvested well over a month ago. It's just that the greens on these lived way longer for some reason. And so I don't know if that means that our tubers are bigger. I really don't know what that means, but I'm excited to find out. So let's get in here and harvest our last 2 potato grow bags of the indoor growing season.
If you are new to growing potatoes, one of the questions you often have is, when do I harvest? Well, you can see these plants have died back absolutely. There is 0 life left in either one of these. And so this is a great time. You know, usually people will cut these off, they'll wait about 2 weeks, and then they'll harvest. This is the perfect time to harvest these. And so let's see what's in bag number 1. I've gone ahead and I've cut off all the greens for this, and as I get ready to flip this, I have to say one of the cheapest and best additions we made to our indoor growing space is this tabletop soil container. We've used it constantly indoors. It saved us a ton of mess, and it's so easy to work with and move around. All right, I'm going to push around a little bit right here just to free up the soil, and let's see what's in this first grow bag, number 1. All right, I saw a few of these pop out right away. You can see by comparison with my hand, this is the size we're looking at. It's a nice size little tuber. We'll work through here. Oh, here comes the main plant right here. Here we go, uncovering this treasure. Look at that. All right, I mean, they're not going to be attached to anything at all because you saw how dead that top was there. There we go. Some decent size to these. Again, right there in comparison to my hand, I'd say there's some decent size. They're in good shape. Don't see anything wrong with them. Oh, there we go. So, just some really nice looking tubers here. So this is where we're at so far. Got about 6 of tubers in here, and I know there are more in here. Just trying to take my time clearing through, so I don't miss anything. If you watched our video outdoors on the volunteer potatoes that came up, there we go. That's where we ran into some, well, the reason why we have volunteer potatoes coming up outdoors is because I missed a few of the potatoes from some of our bigger harvests. So again, I want to make sure as I go through here, granted, I'm going to be reusing this soil elsewhere, but I want to make sure that I don't miss anything so we don't leave anything behind. Oh, we're seeing for the first time what seems to be a little issue here. It's the only one I've seen like this. I'm not sure if that is rot. Let us know in the comments what you think that is. It looks a little bit like, I mean, it's still pretty solid, So it could be some kind of rot. It could be some kind of other damage. Again, this is the first one I'm seeing like that. We'd love to know what you think that is. That seems to be our harvest here from one grow bag. So let's get a weight on this one. All right, this is our tare weight. So I've got this set up so that it's already factoring in the container. I'm going to hook it up to the container where the potatoes are. And I'm going to try to let it hang without all the potatoes falling out and see what we get in terms of a weight. Looks like 1.14 pounds. So just over a pound of potatoes from that bag. So there may be fewer in this than our first grow bag, but the size of them is a little bit nicer. These look really, really nice, except for that one. This is a perfect potato. All right, let's take a look at grow bag number 2. Let's get what's left of the greens off the top of here and get this one turned. There's something about turning over a grow bag. We push in on the sides just a little bit. It's always interesting to see what's going to fall out. I can feel some potato. Actually, I can feel some potato right here. But it's always interesting to see what's going to fall out as we make that first dump. You always see, I guess, a sort of idea of what's in here. All right, here we go. Let's open it up. Whoa. You see them right there. Get it nice and opened up here. You can see some sand here at the bottom, which is something we tried to do to encourage drainage, just to make sure that there wasn't any water pooling in any way in here. So this is a much sandier mix. Oh, there we go. There's our seed potato right there, or what's left of it. All right. Look at the size of this grow bag potato. That is outstanding. This is a beautiful Norland red potato, massive size, nice and firm here. And we've got a couple more in here. Look at these. The coloration is a little bit off. It's not as deep red as you might expect. But that doesn't bother me one bit because these are going to be super tasty. And I'm really liking the size. Oh, and here we see the exact same thing as in the other one. And now I think we're getting an idea that this is actually a little bit of rot in this one. So maybe these particular potatoes stayed in a little bit too long, because I can feel a little bit of squishiness right in here, and that is not something we want to see. We don't want to leave our potatoes in too long, because this is exactly what can happen. Once they're detached from the main plant, if they stay in the ground too long, I mean, you don't want to water them anymore. If you did, you can see this soil is nice and dry, but even so, there's still this possibility for this happening. All right, let's dig in. Oh, look at these. Well, one thing I suggested was that because these plants lasted so much longer than the other ones, that we might be getting some bigger tubers. And I was not wrong. These have to be two of the biggest, well, they have to be the two biggest that we harvested indoors all season. This is the fun of potato harvesting. I mean, you really never know what you're going to get in terms of comparison to other bags, even like bags side by side. Each one is going to be unique in what it produces. And, you know, when you get good results, and I'm very pleased with these results so far, when you get good results like this, I mean, it keeps you coming back for more. It keeps you really wanting to grow these potatoes. You know, all told, we may end up getting about 8 or 10 pounds of potatoes from our first year of growing indoors. And that may not seem like a lot, but the space that they took up was pretty minimal, I would argue. And I would say that the end result, the taste and everything else, just makes it worthwhile for sure. So this plant, and I've gone through here and I've looked, this plant has produced these potatoes. Again, not a huge number, but definitely some really nice massive potatoes in here. Perfect potatoes. Wonderful results in my opinion for this grow bag. All right, let's go ahead and get a weight on these. All right, there's our tare weight. Let's hook it up to our potatoes and see. $1.33 pounds, so almost 1.5 pounds, even though there were fewer potatoes this time around. And just the size of these potatoes has made the difference. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. And here they are together, 2.5 pounds of delicious tubers out of those 2 small 3-gallon grow bags.
I wouldn't be exaggerating at all to say that I am well pleased with the harvests that we got indoors this season. I mean, again, it's our first time growing, so there's always something to learn. There's always something new that we can take from the process so we can try to improve it, not just indoors, but outdoors as well. And so as we see some of the successes that we've had indoors, now we're looking forward to future harvests to see what we can do to make them more bountiful, even in these small spaces. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video as much as we did, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, and let us know which varieties of potatoes you're growing this season. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.